Hey guys, real quick, looking at QQQ, possibly doing an SQQQ trade. Don't forget though, we're going up against some heavyweights here. I think your top 10 are Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Google, Comcast, Intel, Cisco, Amgen. Not normally the kind of companies you want to go short on, but just given the technical damage here and this massive volume, probably the highest we've seen in 2 years. Last time we saw volume like this, I think was back in August of last year, but that was a breakout, and now we have a breakdown. I didn't go back that far, but I think the 14 is accurate for short-term trading on this. Kind of lines up with some little changes in direction here. I don't like that we have a 3 or 4 days under on a few occasions, so we probably want to use a higher SMA, but it's a fast mover in the Qs. I think if you shorted it, and without, we don't want to chase it down. So if we get fall through tomorrow, we're gonna probably avoid it. But if you did get a bounce up to maybe the 141 area, it's probably worthy of a short. Your cover would be 142.70 on a close, maybe 2 days above. This is definitely not the kind of damage that's going to be repaired rather quickly. You could have a V bounce, just like we have in here, but you're going to have a couple days to get out of this trade. I don't see it returning back to the break level in under 3 days. So 141 would be a short level possibly if we get a bounce. If we don't get a bounce, maybe we'll look to go long on this massive follow through here, and we can try to find a level that looks interesting. Obviously, from a horizontal technical analysis, you're going to get down into maybe the 137s, and I'll show you a reason I think that it may not get down there. It's a little too early to call this, but the 137.80, 137.90 is going to line up with something I'm about to show you. So directional change number one, trend line number one, kind of rides along in here, I think. Looks pretty accurate. So here's our big change in direction. Also lines up with a pretty sharp MACD cross here. You can go straight up. Kind of lines up pretty good. So I'm not trying to get too creative here, but I'm looking at a Fibonacci line and a couple different channels here, and wasn't really sure how I wanted to draw this, but this little outlier dip in here kind of throws me off, and I can see a definite directional change in here. So I was thinking maybe lowering this line a little bit, catching this elbow, and then it would kind of come in a little bit low here, but I do like how it touched on the Fibonacci on this bottom here. And I'd like to keep some of these outliers out, but if we go from that pivot line, we do have a close almost similar to the S&P with the tail bottom right on the line there. So looking at a couple different possibilities here, and one of them obviously would be probably right around the 136s, high 135s being the time frame. I think if we do break this level here, though, we're probably going to go down and retest the top of this line here in the 137.40, 137, high 137s. So a structured trade obviously would be a short if we opened up flat, adding the short at 141, and then covering if we get above 142.70, I believe was our number. And then we're looking for first scale out would be 137.80, 137.90, and then somewhere in the 136s. So I'm going to try to narrow this down, but I'm kind of looking at these lines in here. They line up fairly well, but I'd like to get an SMA that kind of lines up with a bigger directional change perspective on a longer term trend, as far as like we have with the S&P 500, the ETF SPY, we have the 30 SMA. The 14 seems a little bit too tight on the QQQ to go in the SQQQ. So real quick in closing, the 14 SMA did line up nicely, but from a little bit of a longer term perspective, I think the 38, we try to use multiples of the numbers that we're using, so a 1428, but we have used 38 before. We've used it for BITA, used it for a couple other stocks and ETFs, and I'm going to show you really quick how the 38 lines up. I'm going to remove all these drawings. A couple of reasons that I checked these pivot points here is I wanted to see if they ran through that 38 SMA, and they kind of did from directional changes, and coincidentally lined up right in here too on the bottom. I don't want to get too cute here, but let's remove all the drawings here and see how it looks. But the 10 working for the short-term time frame. The 38 starts right on here in the MACD breakout, and it lines up nicely with the MACD break. Lines up with the candle bottom here. Lines up with the candle bottom here, and then it gives us our little 2 days under, then back over, and then it touches right in here. So I would have liked to see a lineup in this area more, a little bit more precisely to give us that bottom. Um, so I'm not really sure if this is going to work well with the QQQ or our SQQQ trade if we decide to go that way. But if you run a pivot from that area too, you also get, and I think I was a little bit off there, but you probably get a little bit of another support area, maybe just under where we closed on Friday, kind of in the 139, let's say 139.40 area. So if we don't gap down in the morning, we're looking at 139.40. We're looking at the 141 and change. And then the high 137s, I think, is your support on the lower end. So I'll try to tighten this up in the morning. It's a little bit sloppy. And see if we can't figure out a good trade with SQQQ with some parameters.